We're really excited to have you join us as we speak to the newest school that is joining the BASIS International Schools Network in China. Today we'll be speaking about BASIS International and Bilingual School Wuhan. So I am Tim Smith, and I'll be leading the presentation today and sharing some insights about the network. But today we will be talking about BASIS International Bilingual School Wuhan. We'll talk a little bit more about the BASIS International Schools Network. We'll talk about some of the benefits and visa requirements to be eligible to participate at our schools in China. And then we'll have some Q&A at the end. What we'd like to do, for any of you that do have questions, at the bottom and the menu at the bottom of the Zoom webinar, you have a Q&A button. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to type your questions in there. We'll be reviewing the questions, and then we'll answer all the questions at the end of the presentation here today. It's my pleasure to be joining today with Dan Schneider, who is the founding head of school of BASIS International Bilingual School Wuhan. And we also have Diana Martinez-Yagi, who is an international recruiter who specifically works with our new school here. So the three of us will be talking to different aspects of the school and the network that we do have. And so to get things started, a little bit about the BASIS International Schools. The BASIS International Schools are part of the BASIS Curriculum Schools Network. The network consists of independent schools in the United States that have been highly ranked and very well recognized and known for the academic standards and the accomplishments of the students that do attend and participate in the schools. As we've expanded internationally, we've brought the BASIS curriculum to schools in Asia. We will have 9 schools in China and 1 international school in Bangkok, Thailand as well. So today, it gets to be our pleasure to speak to the newest school that will be opening up this next school year in 2023. It's BASIS International School Wuhan and BASIS Bilingual School Wuhan, which is an interesting combination to have both on there. And today, Dan Schneider, the founding head of school, will be speaking to some of those pieces. But Dan, welcome to speaking with us here today. We're really excited to hear from you about some of your experience, the wonderful new school that you're going to be opening in Wuhan, and sharing some great insights for individuals that are considering opportunities with us in Wuhan. So welcome, and really glad to have you.
All right, thanks for the introduction, Tim. Fun fact, I first met Tim maybe like 5 years ago when he was at the BASIS Guangzhou campus. He interviewed me my first year teaching here for a video about teaching in China. And I think you can still find that video on YouTube if you do enough searching around. So you can go and try to find me there. But quick background of me. I was raised in a small town in northern Wisconsin, but I've spent the last 13 or so years here in China. So now I'm kind of a mix between the cultures. And I'll first explain how I came to China, because that is really kickstarted my interest in teaching. I first came to China during my junior year of college. I was an exchange student, and I happened to be lucky enough to be in beautiful Guilin, where I was doing my study abroad semester. That semester ended up turning into a year-long stay there, as I was just starting to pick up the language as the end of the semester neared, and I thought it would be a waste to kind of give that up as things were just starting to click. So I ended up staying the whole year there, ended up picking up a decent amount of Chinese, and then I went back to my university and graduated. Got a job right out of college in finance. Took me about all of 3 or 4 months to find out that I really didn't want to do that. So I went and found a job teaching in China, and I've been there ever since. So I found out almost immediately that teaching was my true calling, and I've been I love to be in education because you can always learn new things. I continued my formal, education in the field by getting some master's degrees in the program. But the great thing about teaching is you can never be bored. There's always new things to learn, new things to try, a new group of students each year. I also ended up teaching a different subject every year as well, just because that's what interested me. But in many ways, I've always been teaching. I know it sounds pretty corny, but it's true. And if you read my bio in LinkedIn, you'd see that my mom kind of knew this as well. So I have a younger brother who I would always teach when he would, whatever I was learning in school, I would always teach him that. So he was learning long division in kindergarten because that's what I was learning. I guess this was pre-iPads and we didn't have cable. So this is how we entered, and we have cold, long winters in Wisconsin. So I guess this is how we entertained ourselves by doing long division. So my mother's a teacher as well, and she would invite me into her summer schools that she would teach. She taught fun ones like puppetry or rocketry. And ever since I was in middle school, I would be teaching those, co-teaching with her in those classes. And that's where I really found my niche of teaching in the subset of students that I really enjoy teaching, and that's mischievous little boys. You might find rocketry was filled with those students because they get to maybe blow up things. So I had lots of rambunctious little boys that I taught, and I feel like those are the groups of students that I'm most attuned to. Now, working in China, I've worked in various different schools. I've been lucky enough to found 2 different schools before becoming a founding member of the Basis Guangzhou School. I was actually part of the first A-level school in Hangzhou, so the British curriculum. And when they opened up a new partner school with a public school, I also was sent over there to be part of the founding faculty. And during my stint, I wore many hats of an economics, business, accounting teacher, head of department, ended up, starting their college guidance program, being the director there, and eventually becoming an academic director before, transferring and applying to Basis Guangzhou, which I'll talk about later. But what do I like about China? So, well, number one, it's vibrant, it's growing. I like novelty, and if China's changing completely. If I went back to Hangzhou for the first time in 5 years, and I almost didn't recognize places where I used to live because it changes so fast. Number 2, it's convenient. Everything goes through your phone. I haven't carried a wallet for I don't know how many years. My house also is keyless. It uses your fingerprint or a password. So I don't carry keys. I only carry my phone. So if you lose your phone, you're really out of luck, but it's convenient because that's all you need when you leave the house. Deliveries are quick, whether that's getting packages through the mail or getting, delivery of food to your house. And something I'm kind of ashamed that I use, but it's very common here in China, is I have a maid. Most teachers can't afford to have a maid, but in China, most teachers here do use the services of a maid. It took me years living in China before I would stump to it because my Midwestern tendencies didn't, and maybe the small town sort of rugged individualism that I have made me feel like I'm never going to do this. I can clean myself, but I've been in China long enough where I gave in, and now it's a huge convenience to have. Next, I guess the culture, the language. It's something I've continually worked on, is trying to build my language skills. As I've moved into more roles in teaching and admin, I have increasingly less time to do so. And they say that learning Chinese is a 5-year exercise in humility, not because after 5 years, it takes you 5 years to actually get some competency. It's that after 5 years, of learning the language, you still realize that you're so much that you don't know. Mine's improved a lot, but it's always can be better. There's also a lot of variety in the cultures and cuisine throughout China. It's a diverse country with different ethnic minorities, different cuisines. There's the sour spiciness of Hunan, or like the delicate dim sum of Guangdong province, where I'm in now. Hearty noodles of the Northeast, and maybe they have Turkish style food from the Western provinces as well. And that's what excites me about Wuhan, because the food there is nice and spicy. And it also has one of my favorite Chinese snacks. One of their chains is based there. It's Jwei spicy duck necks. It's a tasty treat that I've become accustomed to, and it's based out of Wuhan, which I was surprised to find out when I went there. Another important reason I've liked China, it's safe. So I've never once felt like I was in harm's way. I've even lost a phone at one point in time in a taxi, and later a customer called a number on that phone. I was able to pick it up the next day from somebody because they just held on to it for me. And if you're a single female, this is a great place to be, because something that my colleagues have always expressed is that they feel safe going out at night, something that when they go back to their home countries, they maybe don't have that ability to do. So, but really, one of the main reasons I've stayed in China for so long is my job. It's teaching here. Teaching here is extremely enjoyable because of the students that you get to teach. We know that Asian students are known to be maybe polite and respectful to their teachers, oftentimes within these international rankings of places where people respect teachers the most. China tops that list. And that's all good and nice to have people who really have high academic ambitions and respect for education. But also working in China and working especially in BASIS, we have a really cool group of students where nerdiness is kind of cool. The big nerds are the cool kids in campus. And a little secret, I'm a bit of a nerd myself, so I really find attuned to this culture as well. Like, it's kind of the nerds with attitude here at BASIS. A good example is the national economics team that I took to New York City back a couple years back. My group of freshman boys, they're nerds. They'll happily admit it, but they were probably the loudest, most goofy, silly nerds at this big nerd convention. And I was really proud of like their ability to not just excel academically, but to be so personable, so funny, witty, outgoing as well. So that's something that you don't naturally think of when you think of students from this area, but they surprise you with their wit, intelligence, their outgoing ability. It's something I'm continually surprised about, and I enjoy teaching. And lastly, it's a place where you can save money. In China, the cost of living is relatively low compared to the salaries that you get. I think at BASIS, this is especially true where you can save money. Housing's provided, you get breakfast and lunch is provided at campus, travel allowances, public transport's cheap, readily available. I have a child, a 4-year-old child, he goes to school there for free. So there's not a lot of expenses, and your income is quite generous as well. So I think it's a great place to be to save money, and a good place to live in general. That's why I've been here for so long. I used to think that I would leave China every year. I'd be like, oh, maybe next year I'll go back home. But after about my 8th or 9th year here, and after I met my wife, had a child, I've now just realized that China's my home, and this is where I am going to stay for the foreseeable future. So Tim, we can move forward like a couple slides. I'll talk about BASIS. So yeah, there's my wife and my family. There's us at Yellow Crane Tower, which is in Wuhan. We visited there last summer. And yeah, there's a picture of me in front of the Wuhan campus with the hard hat on. It's nice to know that we're currently under construction, and we should be fully ready for August 23 start. And the next slide, Tim, I'll just talk about what excites me about working for BASIS Wuhan. Number one, I love founding new schools. I've been lucky to be a part of 3 different schools, but I've also actively sought out those opportunities because this sort of the possibilities excite me, and I love building new things. Next, I'm working with a great team. The team that's coming with me, as far as the operations side, then my general manager, the head of operations, are people I've worked with closely while the last 5 years in Guangzhou. I have the utmost level of respect and trust with them, and I'd like to think the feeling's mutual. And lastly, Wuhan is a city that I'm growing to love more and more each time. I've never lived there, but I've been visiting there a lot, especially increasingly in the last few months. And each time I go there, I find something more that I like. It's definitely not what I imagined. It has a great history, culture, cuisine, and really an intense focus on academics. Apparently, they're known as the brains of China. They have the most amount of universities of any, most amount of university students of any city in the entire world. And they're known throughout China for their high scores on their college entrance exams and things like that. So in China, academics are already very intense. So for this city to be known specifically for their academic focus says a lot. And I'll talk more about what Wuhan has to offer in later slides as well. But right now, I'll give you a gist about the Wuhan campus. So you can see one render of the Wuhan campus right now. I think the next slide, Tim, is a great overview, the bird's eye view. So I can give you a little bit of introduction. It will be a bilingual and international school, as Tim described. And what that is, it's very much one school, two systems. So teachers will teach across the two systems, but the students will be separated. We will have, at full max capacity, they will have 1,100 bilingual students and 500 international students. And we will, as much as possible, like the basis plus stuff is aligned with the bilingual curriculum, but we will just insert the required Chinese national curriculum into the basis curriculum for the bilingual schools. And in many ways, a lot of these things that we implement in the bilingual system, we also implement into the international system. There's a lot of good things in the Chinese national curriculum, like PE every day, ICT and CS courses at lower ages so kids know how to interact with technology. Those are things for the bilingual system we actually put in the international because we believe that those are universally beneficial to all children. So if you look at that photo, the main academic building for international would be like that bottom L or part of the yin-yang structure, and the bilingual would be the top area. Across that street, there's the ECE standalone campus, and right next to that would be the teacher-provided housing. And then the two other buildings that you see on the right-hand side will be the dormitories for the girls and boys. We are a boarding school for grades 5 and up. There'll be a max capacity of 600 seats for these students. So I guess in the next ones, I will talk about some of the amenities that the school has. So Tim, we can start moving through some of these pictures. So some quick facts of the facilities. I'm happy to be part of a purpose-built campus. I love Basis International School, Guangzhou. I have a great connection to the community. It's wonderful there. The campus is a bit cozy, though. I'm happy to have a much larger and expansive sort of campus here in Wuhan with some purpose-built facilities. Some things you see here right now, that's the lobby as students will enter. There'll be 2 full-size indoor basketball courts, a 25-meter swimming pool, a black box theater, a large auditorium for 400 seats, and then a smaller theater for musical performances. There'll be 2 sports fields, a weight room, there'll be a dance room, purpose-built music rooms, purpose-built labs. And this picture right here is my favorite part of campus. Actually, it's the library. So where that international and the bilingual schools kind of meet near the center of campus is this library. So this 3-story library it's really the heart of the school, and I love that. That was my favorite thing I saw from all of the renders of the school and all of the plans. I'm a big proponent at pushing for the joy and love of reading with students, and it's a lot easier to do when we actually have this central location of the library. It is the heart of the campus. It will be a place where kids can go to after school, before school, and spend some time just immersed into their book, immersed in their imagination. So I look forward to being in a school where, reading is at the heart of everything. Something else I like about the schools, the ECE spaces are great. They have their own ECE library as well, with a ball pit and a climbing wall in the library. I have a little pre-K student, and he's going to be very, very happy to be climbing those walls, playing those ball pits, and reading books before and after school. So the facilities are top-notch, purpose-built, and they're of high-quality materials that we've been sourcing for all the schools, the new schools opening, and the new basic schools opening in China are all using top-quality materials for the production of all our facilities. So now, I'd like to talk to you more about the school and its location. Oh, well, we'll talk about on-campus housing as well first. So here we have teacher-provided housing. So there'll be studio apartments, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, depending on the size of your family. And like I said, it's next to campus. It's across the street from the main campus, right next to the ECE standalone building. So these ones will be convenient for you. You don't have to deal with landlords. It's a convenient location, which I'll talk about later as well. So it's nice that the school has housing provided for you, because it just simplifies life. I'll be living there too with you guys. All right, next slide, we get to talk about Wuhan. So I'm a visual spatial learner. So I help make some of these maps to try to help you guys out about figuring out where Wuhan might be in location to other places in China. I know a lot of you might just know it's from the pandemic, but it has a rich, long history. It's a port city on the Yangtze River. It's been kind of the main gateway into central China for millennia. And even now it is still a gateway to China. So we highlighted, it's usually 1 to 2 hour flights to any of the major cities in China, or 2 to 5 hour high-speed train rides to major cities. Like it's a 2 hour train ride to Nanjing, but it can also be a 2 hour train ride to Guilin, where I first went to China, which if you don't know, it's a beautiful area. It's a huge tourist destination with karst green landscapes surrounding the entirety of the city. So it's a very convenient place to travel within China. When outside of China, it is an international hub airport as well. They have direct flights from the US to the US as well, and as well as having like a US consulate there, as well as many other countries' consulates are located there, because like I said, it is the biggest central city within China. So it is a major hub. And we'll go to the next slide. I can talk more about where the school location is in relation to the city. So we also made a map near the bottom. You see the school's location, and it's not downtown, but it's not too far out of downtown. It's in a more developing area of the city. It's developing very rapidly. I would say when I say downtowns in Wuhan, there's multiple downtowns. There's 3 different sections of the city. There's Hankou, Hanyang, and Wuchang. And in all 3 of those have been those 3 sections for also millennia. Those are the old traditional names that China has had, because hundreds of years ago, these rivers separating these geographical regions were a much bigger barrier than now. This is pre-bridges across here, and you have to take ferries. So they've always kind of had separate downtowns and city centers. So based off those multiple downtowns, we're about 20 to 25 minutes away by like a deep taxi or subway to those downtown areas. But the area of the city where the school at is not barren as well. It's, like I said, it's fast developing. You're about 1 kilometer from the nearest subway. There's malls that are multiple, like giant malls that are built like within 5 minutes of the school, very, very close. We're next to the Yangtze River, something that didn't exist. as a testament to the fast development of the area, when I went 2 summers ago to check out the campus, which at that point was just a hole, there was also nothing along the riverside. This past summer, they have this beautiful riverside park with that's maybe 5 kilometers alongside the Yangtze River. There's trails to run and ride your bike through. There's a skate park. There's children's playgrounds throughout the entire area. So within a year, they build up this entire park, and they have plans to build up that entire area as well. So it'll be interesting to see over the next few years how fast things get developed. And oftentimes basis schools entering an area are a big reason for the development of an area as well. I've seen this happen around the Guangzhou campus. Some highlights within the city. I pointed out, where IKEA's Sam's Clubs are, but, we're about 10 minutes away from the Yellow Crane Tower or the Buddha Temple. There's the East Lake, which is also about 25 minutes away, which is the largest inner city lake in China. It's a place where they have a greenway around the entire, around the entire lake and also throughout the lake. It's about 100 kilometers. So if you're into biking, which I am, I love riding my bike in China. It's a great place for little weekend, rides. I look forward to doing that. And one of the more interesting things I want to do the next time I go into Wuhan is this Dream Cruise, which is up at the top of that map. It is a cruise that takes you back in time. So it's part theater, part dinner theater, but all of the staff are dressed from the 1930s era of China. They all act the part of that. They encourage all of the guests to also dress like that. So you will be there and you'll watch swing dancing, you'll eat food of the time, you'll interact like you're going back in time on this cruise ship going through Wuhan. Because during that time, Wuhan was a big city. Shanghai was a large city for expats, but also Wuhan was probably the second biggest one at that time. They had concession areas for Russia, Japan, America, France. So it was very international. And you can go to those areas now and see a lot of older Chinese buildings. If you go to the next slide, you can see some of those areas, what they look like. So at the bottom left is kind of the concession area. A lot of Western architecture is still there to this day. It's become more of a chic center with a lot of coffee shops, little bars, or little boutique shops. If you look up top, those are those 2 malls that are opening right next to the school. One of them is basically finished right now. They'll both be done by when the school starts. And the East Lake is that one right in the middle on the bottom. So there's a lot of things to do in Wuhan. Each time I go, like I said, I fall in love with it more because there's more things that I find to explore, more things that I want to learn and do there. So I'm excited to explore this city, and I'd like to explore it with you guys. Now, I guess I want to talk about what are the goals for the school. So I've been tasked with the goal of being the best school in Wuhan, and eventually the best school in central China. How China assesses these schools usually is by their college admissions. And I was a senior director of college admissions near the end of my time at Basis Guangzhou. And when, after our first 1 or 2 graduating classes, we were kind of known around the city as, the best school in Guangzhou. And I'm confident we can do it again in Wuhan. I've seen the steps that we need to take to get there. I've seen the process. But really, I'm not really caught up with the outcomes and results. I think it's much more important in how you do something. The how is much more important than the what you do. Results don't matter as much as the process and integrity and how you attain them. So I guess at this point in time, I'd like to talk a little bit about my vision and philosophy for the school. So in many ways, I've heard leading a school is also just like leading a classroom. In many ways, everything just is like teaching. My job is simply just to equip you guys with the supports and to empower you guys to do the best job that you can do and step away and let you do that. That's something I've enjoyed a lot as a teacher here in Basis, they offer a lot of structure when you enter the school. You know what's expected of you as well. You know what you need to attain, but it's not overly prescriptive. They give you the freedom to adapt and change and come up with their own ideas and empower you to actually attain that. That's something I want to continue in Basis Wuhan, because I personally benefited a lot from that, and I found it a very enjoyable place to teach based on those philosophies. But I also have my own little targets or philosophies that I have for Wuhan. I call them like the X's on my treasure map. So in a treasure map, you have an X, and that marks a spot. Those are the X's. Those are your goals, your targets that lead you to treasure. For me, the number one X I have is to excite. I do believe that school is a magical place. It's a last haven for fun for kids. Many times, it's a place where they can feel safe to make mistakes. And I really want Basis Wuhan to be a place where kids are excited to go to, a place they're going to kick down, the doors in order to enter the school, and then they don't want to leave because they're having so much fun there. Because I do believe that when there's excitement and passion for learning, that is when learning most happens. It is not a give or take, like, oh, we need to be more serious in order to have better results. In my experience, these two things go hand in hand. When kids are excited and passionate about the content, then they're just learning more. The next thing is that I want is expand. No matter what our experience level or what division we're in, we can always learn something from someone else, and we can always be better. We are very much a learning organization that emphasizes continual reflection, encourages experimentation. And this goes within the school level, but also the network level. Something I've enjoyed a lot about working in the Basis network is they're always looking to get better as a network. Whether it's through college admissions, I meet with the other college counselors throughout the network and figure out what are things we can do differently. Or you're in the primary school humanities chairs meeting together to figure out, okay, what are the ways we can increase literacy within our students? What are the types of books that we want them to read? What are the type of resources we can use together? They're constantly looking for ways to improve and collaborate, which leads me to my 9XX exchange. I believe schools are communities, and I believe everything improves when there's more exchange and communication between all of the stakeholders. So teachers, I want them continually engaged in conversations, both in formal settings through PLCs or PD, but really more so, I think a lot of the best things that I've always picked up and insights I've gained were through those informal conversations, maybe over coffee in the teacher's lounge, where teachers is free talk to share the resource, to share their experiences with their colleagues. I guess this exchange also goes outside of just the teachers, but also within the community and the families. It's very important that we harness the potential of our parents. In China, we have very involved parents who's very focused on academics, and there's a lot of positive potential to be had there. They are an important asset that we have in school, and we can learn from them and work together with them to better the outcomes for the students. Because parents and teachers, we all have the same goals. We want the best for the children. And my last X would be to expect the best of everyone, expect the best intentions. I really want to create a culture where we presume positive intentions of everyone. I think this last few years with the pandemic and everything, life can be difficult. It can be challenging. We don't know what others are going through. So we don't know why they may be acting one way, whether we're assessing students or our colleagues. We just want to expect that, hey, they're trying their best. We just presume that they're trying their best and doing it. We approach everything from there. So it's important to have empathy and kindness in all of our interactions, especially in times like now. So what type of teachers am I looking for to take me on this journey? So number one, I'm looking for those with the passion and excitement for teaching, those with an infectious joy for making a difference in the lives of their students. I want those with ideas, those wacky and weird ones like me who are enthused about the possibilities and potential of what founding a new school. They're not scared of it. They're like, yes, what can I do? I want those who want to be challenged, who want to grow. In BASIS, this is very important that we're always striving to do the best by our students, both and I want us to be thinking about ways we can grow both professionally and personally, because they often go hand in hand. And lastly, it's very important to be adaptable. Being able to roll with the punches is important for anyone who teaches abroad, but I think it's especially important for a founding school where usually duties are stretched maybe across more disciplines and grade levels than they would be in a more mature school. Yeah, as a new school, we're looking for teachers across all divisions. There's a lot of options available there. So no matter your specialty or grade level, there's options for you available in Wuhan right now. So if any of what I shared with you has piqued your interest, please apply. I'd love to chat with you and see, if this may be the best fit for your future. So at this point in time, Tim, is there anything that I need to cover I miss?
Loved a lot of what you touched on. Love the the philosophy and the approach that you have as you build the culture within this new school. It really is going to be a great center of learning within the network. So I really love that. I've loved the time that I've spent in Wuhan. As you touched on, the food is wonderful. It's amazing. Food is great. East Lake is probably one of my favorite places. Very large natural scenery, some great historic places around the lake as well. And I know in the past you kind of described Wuhan as the Chicago of China. It's kind of a good, for those from North America, pretty good comparison for what Wuhan is and some of how that fits within the country. So that's really great. Appreciate you sharing a lot of wonderful insights. And the great thing is, construction is well along. It's well on pace. It'll be done not that long. So looking forward to seeing that get completed.
I think around March or April it should be done. But
Good.
Fingers crossed.
All right. We know how construction can be.
Yes.
Well, that's great. Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing a lot of those insights. So I appreciate that. We'll get to Q&A a little bit to share some insights on the network as a whole. So our school in Wuhan is part, the BASIS International and Bilingual Schools group in China, which is part of the BASIS Curriculum Schools Network. Something that the BASIS curriculum is fairly well known for is a rigorous academic focused curriculum. It is a little bit more accelerated than what has become standard. One of the things that's really important to us is our mission, in that BASIS International Schools mission is to provide our students with a transformative early childhood and K-12 education with a cutting-edge BASIS curriculum, and through exceptional teaching and faculty mentoring, we'll produce graduates who have broad intellectual capabilities, international perspectives, critical thinking proficiency, and creative problem-solving skills to be leaders in their future academic and professional lives. And a couple of things really stand out. What we're really striving for and what we're looking to accomplish is certainly preparing students to be future leaders and having the skills they need to be proficient contributors. But the other piece that's really important is, the faculty mentoring that we do focus on. And we really want to have a learning culture, not just for students learning, but as educators and professionals, that we want to be learning ourselves, continuing to enhance and refine our skills and our craft as we provide students with a great education. In terms of the curriculum, basic components for primary, we do have, as Dan had talked about, we have ECE as kind of a carved off group. We do have grades 1 through 4, part of the primary level. We're really building that love and respect of learning. The middle school grades, we're enhancing the academic mindset, so preparing some of the critical thinking skills, problem solving skills. And then in the high school grades, the upper school, really fostering college readiness, that they're prepared to take on advanced courses at a university level through the curriculum that we do provide and the experience that they do have with the BASIS schools. In terms of what that's yielded, in terms of college acceptances, it's really been phenomenal. Over 95% being accepted into the top 50 universities, 77 accepted into top 30 universities. and getting into some really wonderful schools like Boston University, Columbia, Cornell, Duke, the Imperial College of London, MIT, Princeton, Stanford, Oxford, Rhode Island School of Design. So really some great schools that they're able to attend and pursue their continued education. Great. So a couple of things that we like to speak to in terms of working with the basis schools in China. I'll turn things over to Diana Martinez-Yagi. Diana.
Okay, so thanks, Tim. So why teach with basis? Well, we have a very collaborative learning environment, which means that, our teachers are all highly skilled, and they're working with other teachers that are from all over the world that have that same caliber of excellence that they have. So they're able to share ideas and share that passion for learning and teaching students. Our academic culture, like what we've all been talking about, we have very rigorous, high standard curriculum. Our students are learning, at a high level, and so the academic culture is, again, very high. I just keep saying high a lot, but we do have a very accelerated academic culture. Our basis network is very large, as Tim touched on. We have schools all over the world, well, United States and Asia. So there's a lot of opportunity to transfer to other campuses. And our basis students, basically, they're what make everything worthwhile in teaching. I think the basis curriculum and our kids are just amazing. They really, truly are amazing. They're very smart. They enjoy, like Dan said, they enjoy being nerds. They enjoy getting out there and just learning all different kinds of things. They want to go to school. When I was a kid, I didn't really want to go to school, but our kids really want to go to school. So how amazing is that to come teach at a campus like that? So why teach in China? It's very convenient. Like Dan said, you can use your phone. You don't even need to have keys. You can use your phone to get into your apartment building. You can use it to charge, just like Apple Pay, I guess you could say, in a way. So it's really, really convenient, very modern. Education is highly valued. The students and their parents respect you as a teacher, which I know is a little bit difficult sometimes in the West. You don't receive that same type of respect and value of you as a teacher. Also, you get to experience a new culture. Look at how Dan, he was on the Great Wall. He was climbing dangerous things all around China. How awesome and amazing is that? I think that's really neat. So working for basis, what are some key points? Well, our schools have mostly local students, which means that they're ESL students, which means you have to make sure to be able to teach students that are second language learners. I mean, you have to, there's different techniques you use to help them to understand. You can't be using figurative language as much as you use with your English-speaking peers. So that's something to keep in mind. We want our teachers to be flexible because we are expanding, which is amazing. We're having new growing campuses, but you do have to be flexible in that you would possibly be working at a new campus with, you got to iron out those kinks. That's a little bit difficult for some people in the early stages, but that's just something to keep in mind. You do have to be very flexible. Also, accompanying students, if your children, they need to be able to be ready for a basis curriculum. Like I said, highly advanced. The kids are learning physics, chemistry, and biology in the 6th grade, which is 11, 12 years old. So being able to get into that kind of higher level of learning, that rigorous curriculum, and being able to keep up with the students that have already been in our basis schools since kindergarten. If your child is going to be accompanying going to be coming along to China with you, they need to be able to keep up with our kids. All right, so I can go over the expat package. So we do, along with our competitive salary, we do provide travel benefits, which is a ticket to and from China at the beginning and end of your contract for you and any dependents. Also, you receive a return home / travel allowance yearly, which you can use to return home or travel. Housing is provided, so it's fully furnished. Housing, which is either on campus, very close to campus, maybe within walking distance or a short train ride away. If you do, after your first year, you really like a location, you have a bunch of friends in a certain area, you're free to obtain your own housing, and we would provide a housing stipend in that event. So it's our fully furnished housing or housing stipend. We also provide health insurance. It's a global health insurance. You can use it within China or outside of China. Recommendation is not to only use it for urgent care in the United States, but it is great in other countries. There's a tuition benefit for up to 2 children. Again, be careful if you are having your child accompany you that they're able to keep up with the basis curriculum. Also, breakfast and lunch is provided at the school, as well as a 10% retirement bonus, which you can put towards a retirement plan of your choice. That's maybe a 401k or a pension plan back home. We do provide that. Also, there are different bonuses paid throughout the year, as well as a contract completion bonus. So our contracts are 3 years long, so that is something to keep in mind. Okay, and what are our requirements? We do require you to have a degree in the subject area that you are teaching, and for elementary ed or EYE, you need to have that primary early years certification or degree. Also, 2 years of full-time teaching experience, that's a visa requirement. And we really want, like Dan is saying, everyone's saying, passionate teachers that are willing to collaborate, that want to, push their students, want to really engage their kids and get them to that higher level. It's hard work to work in our schools. And so, the students are putting in hard work, and we expect you to put in that hard work as well. I mean, the kids are amazing, but you also need to be engaged and exciting and also amazing, or you're going to lose them. So there are some other visa restrictions. Just keep in mind, we're still, post-COVID, but kind of still in COVID. But so there are very few visa restrictions, but there still are some. That's nothing to keep in mind. All right, so we are expecting to grow in several other locations in the next couple of years. So Beijing and Shanghai, as well as we do have a Guangzhou school, but we're looking to expand it to a bilingual campus. So it's an international campus right now, but it will be bilingual in the future as well. So, I mean, all this expansion coming up, there's so many opportunities for you to also grow with us as we expand in China.
Thanks, Diana. Appreciate you sharing those insights. So this is comprises the main aspects of our presentation. For more insights, you can learn a lot more about our schools, the experiences that the teachers have. You can see what some of the students are doing, what the schools are, what's happening, and the accomplishments of the different schools. But you can visit our careers site, jobs.basisinternationalschools.com, and also follow the blog. The blog is where teachers are also sharing about, again, their experience in China, their experience at our schools, sharing insights on the students and their experiences as well. You can also join the interest list. There's a link to that from our career site as well. You can also go directly. It's jobs.basisinternationalschools.com/interest. If you join the interest list, you'll receive occasional updates on the happenings across the schools, updates, and new openings of positions that are opening. We do also have a lot of information and same thing, insights on our social media. So please feel free to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We do have videos sharing, again, great insights of the experience from the teachers, and some great things we're also sharing on Pinterest. All right, well, that covers the information that we do have. So going to the Q&A for right now, we do have some questions that have come in. So Diana, we'll have you run through the questions that have come in if you'd like to share those.
Sure. Okay, just a few questions. So the first one, is there any flexibility to move to another city after a couple of years as part of the after the 3-year contract? And
Dan, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. Love it. Within the 3 years, you need to stay. There's no switching during contract lengths. After the completion of your contract, there is like an internal transfer process. So if there's another school you want to try to transfer to, you can apply to go to those other basis schools. But during the initial contract length, there's no switching schools.
all right, cool. Second question, with BASIS using the AP curriculum, if one of the teachers has more experience in IB or British or any other type of curriculum, how difficult would it be for them to get into teaching with our AP curriculum?
I can answer that because I had that experience. I taught A-level for 6 or 7 years. I never taught AP when I first came to work at BASIS as well. The transition and A-level, I think, is very similar to IB in many aspects. Depends on which subject you're teaching, but in economics, it was very similar. So I felt it's not a big step and not a big leap. In many ways, it's going down in level. The difficulty in AP is you don't get the depth because IB and A-level are maybe over 2 years. So you're getting a little bit more depth of knowledge. The difficulty in AP is the breadth of knowledge you need to cover just in 1 year. So you learn a lot of topics, but you don't go very deep with them. So it's an adjustment. I think the biggest adjustment has to do with pacing. The content knowledge is there. You're just going to have to adapt the level of depth that you're used to. It took me a little bit. I was teaching them beyond level most of the time, which ended up being fine. Kids, they just learn more than they need to. There's nothing wrong with that. But you need to make sure you also get through enough of the content. So that's the only difficulty I would say is pacing. And we will provide you with supports and guidance and how to do that. And they also sign up teachers for the AP training. If you are going to teach AP, we try to enroll you in some of those AP training sessions that go on.
All right, cool. And so what type of ELL support is available and what is the typical English ability of our students, would you say?
Okay, so we use map testing, which some of you might be familiar with. We use that as a way to track the literacy levels of our students. It's the most popular and widely used sort of tracking tool of literacy abilities, I think, in the world, definitely in America. Our students in the BASIS network generally have literacy reading levels at levels in America, which those levels aren't very high sometimes in America, but these are second language learners. So maybe in the first year, they might be a little bit lower, but generally our kids pick up quickly and then exceed them. So they're at or above, I would say, the reading level of American students on average. And there's a second part of the question. What was that? I think I didn't answer it.
It was, what is the English ability of the students and what type of ELL support, correct?
All right, so we have an ELL team who provides support to students, and that varies. Sometimes it's providing an extra class. So there might be an academic English support class where we put some students who are struggling in it. And during that class, we just help them. Oftentimes we're just providing them supports for the other classes where they may be struggling, their history and English classes. We're helping them do their homework there, helping them go through the content there. We're working with the subject teachers of the difficult subjects of their grade level. Other times we'll do push-ins, pull-outs, but less so. We will, in the lower age range, we'll bring in the ELL person and we will have them come into the class and help support the students. But more often it's more through coaching the teachers. Because you're never going to have enough ELL people in a classroom for push-ins and pull-outs. It's really equipping the teachers with the skills. English, I would say it's not really a problem because most of the students are at a similar level. It's not if you're an effective teacher in America or your home or the UK or Australia, there's always going to be people at different ability levels. Good teaching's good teaching. You're always going to have to differentiate no matter where you're at. In some ways, it's a bit easier here because they all have similar difficulties in some areas. So there's often less differentiation you have to do in these international schools here and working in bases China. So we do provide supports at different levels, but oftentimes a major support is like you as the teacher are going to be required more to reach them, because honestly, that's where the students are going to get the most support and help. They see you every day. So that's the most important part for ELL support.
Okay. Going on more support, what kind of support is given to teachers coming to and getting into China, would you say?
Oh, yeah, I should have touched on this more. I meant to touch on this. So it was in my notes, actually. I think I skipped past it. That there's a lot of support that you get from the school. I think BASIS especially gives you great support in the visa process. They hold your hand through the entire way. And once you get into China, it's way better than the other schools I've worked in here as far as the support that you get for adjusting. They'll help you open up your bank account, get you a SIM card. They'll take you to IKEA and maybe help you furnish your place if you get any other sorts of toiletries, things that you need. They're going to help you with any housing issues you may have. It's easy mode compared to what I had when I went in places where I just got hired. They barely helped me with the visa process and then kind of left me to myself to try to figure out housing and life in general. It was fine with me because I was already used to things, but for other teachers, they were thrown in the deep end. I think one of the assets that BASIS has is we have a very strong HR team who supports teachers. And I've talked to some colleagues who've left to other schools, and then they complain about how ineffective their HR is in comparison. And they're like, oh man, you don't know until you've been somewhere else about, you're like, oh, you don't know what you have and how lucky you are sometimes until you go somewhere else and it's not as nice.
So this is a good one. What would you say is the best thing about being a founding teacher at a new campus?
That's a good question. There's a lot of nice things. I guess you get to kind of be there at the start and form the culture and the direction of the school. A lot of being part of the founding school is that's where you start the traditions. So you might do something silly like year one, like it might be the idea of a teacher to start some tradition. And then we might just continue that for years to come. So we did something in Guangzhou, like the Phoenix Frenzy, where the seniors, the teachers in high school hold on to these phoenixes, these stuffed plushy phoenixes for like a week. And their goal is to try to protect it. And the seniors, only the seniors, they get to try to steal it the entire year. So the entire week. And so it's a goal of the teachers trying to protect these, Phoenix plushies from people. So being part of a finding school, you just kind of have the opportunity just to start traditions and set the trajectory of the school. You also have the opportunity to start different programs that might interest you. After my first year, I was teaching logic, AP economics, 8th grade economics, and I was doing college counseling as well. Because there's not much to do when you just have grade 9 kids. For college counseling, there's a smaller group. The second year, though, I noticed that what are some good classes I think might be helpful for our students. I started a global politics and development class that had MUN, the Model United Nations, as a part of that, a major part of that class. So kids could take part in an extracurricular activity during school hours. So they didn't have an excuse, but I don't have time. It encouraged kids to do something that's going to be more out there and help them in college admissions, help them as a person in general with public speaking. And it was during school hours. So I was able to start global politics classes, and the same thing, that same year, business class as well, was a focus on business competitions and getting kids making their own businesses in school, selling things. It's all kind of project-based or competition-based classes. So if you have ideas and you always wanted to do something, that's always what I had. I had ideas and wanted to do something. That's what's most exciting about a new school, because there's always opportunity to have that, make that happen. And personally, that's something I want to see and support teachers who have these ideas. My job as a head of school is to help those come through. I want to help support you in this collective vision that we have for the school going forward.
I don't see any more questions coming in, so I'm gonna, Tim, go ahead and take it away.
Right. Well, Dan, thanks for sharing a lot of the insights on the school, your experience, and what you're looking for in great teachers as you open up this new school in Wuhan. And for anybody else, again, just to reiterate, please feel free to apply through our career site. You can follow us on social to gain additional insights on the schools, the experience that the teachers are having, and engage with us there. For any additional questions that you do have, you can also you can email us at careers@basisinternationalschools.com. Really appreciate so many people participating today, and we look forward to seeing your applications come in. Thanks, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful evening or a wonderful morning, depending on where you are in the world.